Greetings and salutations. I hope this video finds you well. This is going to be a very informal video. We're going to take a look at some bash scripts that I have decided to go ahead and share with the community that I haven't shared before. And we're going to talk a little bit about the EzeeLinux bash script page and the bash script collection and go through some of the new things that I am sharing with you guys. Now, if you are new to Linux, new to this channel, a new subscriber, this stuff might seem a bit over your head. If that's the case, I encourage you to hang around for as long as you can because you just might learn something. But if you are a slightly more advanced Linux user, then you should find some of this quite interesting. And those of you who have followed the channel for a long time kind of know the saga that we've been through over the last 3 or 4 years as I have developed more advanced scripts, as I have learned more about the language and things like that. And this is just kind of what I do this time of year. It's January, and where I am in the world, it's very cold. I don't feel like going outside, so I end up staring at the computer going, what can I play with? And this is what I have done this time around to share with you. So let's go ahead and jump into it, but before I do that, let me say very quickly that there is a link in the description to the EzeeLinux page that we're looking at right now. There is a link to EzeeTalk and a link to Facebook. And if you want to find out more, you can always check that out. And if you are a Facebook user, give us a like. And of course, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you like what you see. It all helps, man. This community just continues to grow. It amazes me. So anyway, we're on the bash scripts page here. And real quick, I just want to run through what we already have. These are what I would call finished projects that are just getting maintenance at this point. These are programs that have their own repository on GitHub, and we're doing this the right way. We're doing the version numbering and all that kind of stuff, and this is kind of what I have focused on with sharing in the community for quite some time. So we have BU, which is the USB backup tool, and then we have CYA, which is a program that I didn't write, but I contributed to. This was written by Jeremy O'Connell at CyberWeb Solutions, who is also the person who has engineered this web page that we're looking at right now and a lot of the background infrastructure of EzeeLinux. So I was really happy to work with him on that. That is a project that's really grown by leaps and bounds. Another one is Up, which was a script that I came up with just as a teaching tool, but I have ended up using it every day, and there are people around the world who have downloaded this who do the same thing, and it's a tool that lets you very quickly and easily update Debian or Ubuntu or anything based on Debian or Ubuntu. People have even wrote versions of this that work on Solus and work on Manjaro, so they've taken the original script and changed it, so you might want to check that out if you find that interesting. Then we have this thing called Show, which is a program that you can use to display text files in a terminal if you're making presentations. I was looking for something that I could load text files in one after the other and have them display in a terminal on the screen in such a way that there was no cursor and there was no decoration of any kind. It was just displaying the text file. So that's what that is. Pre-shrink VM is a utility that I came up with for maintaining VirtualBox VMs. So you can condition the virtual machine to get it ready to be shrunk by the system in case they get too big for you. That's with a dynamically allocated drive, by the way. P2V is a program that takes a picture file and an audio file and creates a video file. Very useful little program. That's another tool that's a good example of something that I needed, and I can't find anything that does this easily, so I went out and wrote it. So now we come down to the bash scripts collection, and right now there's no video attached to it. That's because this video will be attached to that, and that's what we're going to focus on here. And then I've got bash scripts, tweaks, and tricks, and this is a little thing that I have put up here. It's just a zip file. And then we have the disclaimer at the bottom, the fine print, that nobody should ever use any of this software for anything, and it's good for nothing. So if you come here right now, you'll see that you can download a zip file that comes directly from GitHub. There was in this space before a zip file that I hosted on my own webpage that you could download that had some really old little tools and scripts in it, and I decided it was time for an update. That went along with a video that's long forgotten now. And you can also check this out on GitHub. So you can go to the GitHub page. I think people are more comfortable downloading from GitHub or pulling the repository or cloning it or whatever you want to do from GitHub than they would be downloading a file from my webpage, although I can personally assure you I'm not putting anything nefarious in there, but I don't blame you if you don't want to do it. So I decided to move this stuff over to GitHub. And GitHub, if you don't know, is kind of where open source lives. Between GitHub and GitLab and SourceForge, pretty much all of the open source software out there, this is where you can go get the code. You know, you hear people talk about all the time about looking at the code. Well, where do you get it? This is where you get it. And these are public repositories that anybody can come look at. So all of these little scripts and things that I put up here, and what I do is minuscule. I mean, the entire Linux Mint project is on GitHub. Ubuntu is on GitHub. Huge projects are here. So these are just little bitty things. And that's what this is. So you can follow along and do all kinds of stuff. Anybody who's used to using Git and GitHub will already know how to do that. And I'm not going to get into that in this video. That's well beyond the scope of what we want to talk about. So let's go through what is in the new bash script collection. I want to do it file by file and just show you what they do and how they work. Now, a lot of this stuff is a work in progress or some tool that I wrote very quickly to get something done. They're not nice and clean and polished, and they don't have help files in them and things like that. These are just really down and dirty little tools that I have shared. And therefore, there is probably going to be some typos and spelling mistakes in these things. And every time I do one of these videos, the typo police come out in full force. I just want to let you know that I don't intend to run off and update these things should you find a typo, because I don't care. These are tools that I use every day that I really don't care what they look like. And if anybody downloads them, if it bugs you that much, feel free to change it however you want to, because you're going to have to do that with a lot of these anyway. These are very customized tools that some of them you're going to have to rewrite completely to make it work. It's just an idea that I'm sharing with you. So let's go ahead and jump in here. And the first one we want to look at is called checksys. And this is just a little tiny program or a little script that I wrote for my server. The idea here is that I can log in and then I can type in checksys, and it gives me really vital information very quickly. And you will notice here that the way I have done this is it's calling directly for the programs where they live. Of course, on later versions of Ubuntu, if you go down and look at line 11 right there, you'll see that it's saying it's in the bin directory, and now Ubuntu just has a link for the bin directory that goes to usr/bin, but anyway, it's still there. And the point of this was so that this would load very, very quickly, because the idea that I had was that I would put it at the end of my bashrc file, and it would load automatically whenever I opened a terminal, and it would automatically give me this information and then exit to a prompt. So I can show you how this works, because I have this running, I pretty much have this running on all my machines. So if I do checksys, that's what I get. And it tells me about the memory usage on the machine in humanly readable terms. And then it tells me what's going on with the partitions that are mounted to the system at this point. On this machine, we have a root partition and a home partition. And then down here, it tells me some interesting things about uptime and how long has the computer been up and how many users are logged in. This is very useful for servers, especially if you're just logging in. You want to check things out and get out. So that's what checksys looks like. So the next file we have in here is Firefox Purge. I have mentioned this in other videos. This is actually a stub. A stub is like a function that you can put into other scripts. And when you're writing things, I strongly urge you to hang on to everything that you write. Even if you think, oh, that's really super simple, I can repeat that at any time. go ahead and hang on to it. And the reason why is because you never know. Sometimes you'll be sitting there working on something, you go, wait a minute, I had a tool that did something very similar. So this is a stub. This actually is part of other scripts that we'll be looking at later. And what it does is it goes and it purges Firefox from an Ubuntu or a Linux Mint system, or even Debian. It works fine on Debian. And I have tried it on, I'm trying to think what I have tried it on, because I've done it on a lot of different systems testing it, and it works just fine. Debian-based, Ubuntu-based, that's what this is mainly aimed at. So what it does is the first thing it does is it gets rid of Firefox, and there are two files in there. There's Firefox, and then there's Firefox locale en, if your English is your language, and it gets rid of that. And then I have it go and search for the Mozilla directory if the person has already opened Firefox and created a profile, and it just gets rid of it. So it just takes it off the machine. And then down here what it does is it actually grabs the Google Chrome application. Google maintains a repository for Google Chrome that you can grab. It's right here, this web address. You can grab it just off the web. You don't have to go to their page and click on it to download it or any of that. It just grabs it. So what this does is it creates a temporary directory, grabs that, and then it installs it, and it uses GDebi to do that, which is my preferred application for installing deb packages in Ubuntu and Debian. Now, yes, there are a couple of other ways to do that, but I like using GDebi. I just like the way it works. And then it's very good about matching the dependencies, where there's some other commands sometimes get a little shaky on that, and that's why I like to do that. So then once it's done, it removes the temporary directory and it exits, and that's it. So that's what that does. Now the next file here is license, and I did ship this with the GNU General Public License version 2, but I don't really expect people to follow it. You don't have to send me your patches. I just feel more comfortable attaching it to a license. Some of these are just little aliases, tiny little one command deals. I really don't claim any credit for them. Do with them as you will. This is just a formality that's just in there. Like, for instance, this is a little one called NR. And what this is this was when I had a nagging problem where Ubuntu kept dropping the network connection. So I came up with this. This is just sudo systemctl restart network manager. That's all it does. All right? But I decided to share it anyway. Somebody might find it useful. There's a program that I use all the time called Ocean Audio. And so I created a little stub, a script here to install that. And that's what this looks like. And it does the same thing that we did for Google Chrome, except it doesn't uninstall anything first. It just goes and it grabs Ocean Audio and it reinstalls it. Now what's really nice about this is that with Ocean Audio, since you install it from a deb package, it will occasionally tell you there's a newer version available, which usually means you have to click on that, you have to go to the web page, download the deb package, and then click on it and open it with like GDebi or software or whatever application is set up to do that on your computer. This way, if you know that's the case, or even before you open the application, all you got to do is run this little installer right here, and what it will do is it will update it in place. It'll grab the new file, update it, and you don't even have to do anything else. So it's just one thing there. And just like Google, for Google Chrome, Ocean Audio, the folks that distribute that, maintain an open link for that on the web. It never changes. It's always the latest stable version, which is really a cool way to do things, and I'm always glad when people do that sort of stuff. Okay, this one is not for Ubuntu. This is a utility that I came up with for the EzeeLinux server, and what it does is it works on CentOS, and it will go and grab all of the old kernels on CentOS and get rid of them. So it will, everything but the running kernel goes away. This is really useful for servers that you update and you don't necessarily go back and manually clean all that out. So you can have 2 or 3 kernels in there and they just take up space, and that's what this does. It just simplifies it and makes it work there. So that's what that does. This is a cool little thing that I actually floated out there a while back. I said, would anybody be interested in this? And I didn't get a whole lot of response on it, so I didn't add it to the BU repository immediately. And it does have some problems. There's some issues. I'm not 100% happy with the way this works. I've got it to where it will work for me, but if you're not an advanced user, you're not going to want to do this, because what you have to do is, okay, this is a script that you use to run the BU script on a remote machine. So here's the scenario. You have a machine that has a USB drive connected to it. You are not sitting in front of it. You are logging into it from another machine. And what this will allow you to do is run a backup using BU and working with an already established BU directory structure and all that stuff from that machine. Now the trick is you have to manually mount the BU drive partition to /mnt. That's where it's going to look. If it doesn't find it there, it's going to dump out. So that's what it does. It looks for the drive there at MNT. It does it right here. And if it doesn't find it, it kicks out an error. It says it's not mounted at MNT exiting. It's just saying it's not there. I can't do anything. So that's what this particular part of the script is. And then after that, if it finds it, then what it does is it will go ahead and proceed. Now, it doesn't... I'm trying to remember whether it does it or not. You'd have to experiment with it because I haven't done it in quite some time. I believe that you already have to have run the regular BU script first. Let me see if that's up in here. This script will not create host directories. Run BU from host machine first to do that. So you have to have already run a backup once locally on the machine, and then you can run this. And it will just make sure that those directories are there, and it will do a backup. And this, at some certain point, picks up where BU. It's just the same code. But it's not... This is just a pretty simple script, like I said. You might find that useful, you might not. And no, when it says remote, it's not talking about sending the files through a network. I think a lot of folks would get confused with that, and it's one of the reasons I didn't immediately share it. This is the README file that comes with this. I adapted this from the old EzeeLinux bash script collection, so it just is what it is. It's just a README file. It's just a little guide there. I'm not going to get into it. Let's see. Let's talk about SFTPN. Now this is just a little alias that I use, but people always find this quite useful, so I decided to go ahead and share it. And that is that we run the SFTP command, and then you'll see that the command automatically adds in 192.168.0. Which is my network. And then the last digits of whatever the static IP address of the machine on the network is. So that makes it real easy. If I wanted to log into a machine on my network, instead of typing in the whole address, I would do SFTPN, and then I would do 14. Now I know this machine is up. I hope it lets me in. Because now I'm in. I'm logged into SFTP. I did that through SSH. SFTP is like FTP file protocol that you might remember on the web that is older than dirt, but this does it through a secure connection through SSH. So it's pretty cool. So once I'm over here, I can list the storage on that machine. I'm in my own account over there. I can get files. I can send files. I can do all kinds of stuff. So that's how it works. I'm not going to take too much time on that to demonstrate SFTP. You can go off and figure that out for yourself. You can either type exit to leave, or you can type in bye. I like typing in bye because I think that's more personal. So that's what that does. Now we have the same sort of idea here for SSH. I use these little shortcuts called SSHN. Log in here and get this bigger so everybody can see it. And then it kind of works the same way, except on SSH I automatically turn on X forwarding, which means that I can open up graphic applications from other machines. So let's go ahead and get into 14 again. We'll use that as the guinea pig. It's the other one that's up on the network right now. So we'll get into 14. I'm logged into that machine, and while I'm here, I can open up. Oh, I forgot. Do that right, or it's not going to work. I can open up graphic applications. Now it's going to take a little while because it's pulling this through the network. And that machine is all the way in the back of the house and tends to get the crappiest connection. But it's the only one up right now. So we'll wait patiently for this to load. So that's what X forwarding does. It will allow you to open up simple graphic applications on remote machines. And it's a tool I use all the time. And yes, this is taking a long time. It might even crash. It might not even do it. That's all right. It gives me a second to take a drink from my beverage. Nope, our application finally opened up. And you see that there's one big happy hard drive on that machine. And it's running at 108 degrees Fahrenheit, 42 degrees C. And it's very happy. So there you go. That's an example of how that works. We can get out of that. Get out. Exit that connection, and we'll get out. Before we look at sync all, let's look at syncit. Syncit is a piece of software that I came up with that allows me to automatically sync certain directories on remote machines. So what that means is that I can just type in syncit, and then I put the IP address. This is the same way as like SSH in. So let's do it so I can show you how it works. So if I do sync it and then do 14, make sure I spelled that correctly, which I did not. See, now it's going to sync this machine, which is the host machine that I'm on, the directories on this machine, to that one. They're synced up. So that's what syncit does, and it does that directory by directory. I have shared the syncit script in the past, and some people have done some really nifty things with it and changed it to do all kinds of groovy stuff, but I still use it in this form. And then what I came up with after that was, well, that's cool. I can sync things from one machine, but now I wanted something that would do it automatically to every machine that was up. So what I came up with in that instance was a program called sync all. And sync all, it actually is much more complicated. It goes out on the network and it searches for these machines, and it sees how many machines are on the network and then runs the syncit script on each one in order. So there's the syncit script, and they're all in functions here, and this is how it works. And there are the machines listed. You do have to manually put them in. So if you add a machine to your network or take one away, you have to go in here. Or if you have one that's not up and running all the time, then you can just comment out these particular entries. And if you do that, then it won't actually go find it. So let's run sync all, and you can see what that does. I don't know why I keep doing that. Keep hitting the T. There we go. Third time's charm. Got it right that time now, didn't we? So it's now looking for the machines on the network, and it will not find them. It's actually pinging them several times and looking at the exit code of ping, and if it gets a bunch of errors, then it knows the machine's not on the network. So 13 is not on the network. I know that machine is down. So now it goes to 14. We know that machine is up on the network, so there it goes. So those are the current machines that are on my network that are Linux machines that can benefit from this program. Now what's nice is that when I do that and I broadcast that across the network, every machine with my account on it, now the files are synced up. So if I go sit down at that machine, I'm going to get the same thing that I'm getting at this machine. If I change something on the other machine and I want the changes to be reflected throughout the network, I can run it from any machine to any machine. So very cool there. And you guys can take a look at that if you want to. Let's see, we already looked at sync it, but I clicked on it anyway. Okay, so this one is the Ubuntu install scripts. And I have 3 of them right now because I have 3 different versions of Ubuntu that I am supporting on different machines. And what this does is, as soon as you install Ubuntu and you run all the updates, you get it all updated and ready to go, then I will restore the data files. And once I do that, I then run this script. And what it's going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to grab a whole bunch of software that I need. Now you'll see, like, the first thing that it's grabbing here is NVIDIA 340. So this must be for, yeah, this is for 1804, the LTS. It's because on the new ones, of course, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to install your drivers. If you click install third-party software at the beginning, it just does it, right? So anyway, that's what this does. It goes, grabs a whole bunch of software, and then I have some deb packages that I'd like to have installed. So it goes and looks in a directory where I have that stuff, which is this right here, and it installs those packages. And then I have a subscript here to install GNOME boxes and get everything that needs. I swap out some snap packages for some stuff from the apt repositories, the regular Ubuntu repositories. Here is the script to get rid of Google Chrome, or get rid of Firefox rather, and add Google Chrome right there. We've already looked at that. Here's Ocean Audio being installed. It's the same script we had before. And then I add a repository so I can get the TimeShift application and install that. And then I grab Martin Wimpress's audio stuff repository so I can grab the MP3 gain application. And then I have a couple of fixes here for other things that you have to do in Ubuntu 1804. You make Qt applications display the way I want them to. This is a little fix that you put in to make CDs work, so you can burn CDs. I do occasionally actually still burn CDs, so that needs to be functioning and working. And then if we come to 1910 here, you can see that this is customized 1910. It's pretty much the same thing, except there's changes in 1910. So when we get down here, you have to add a line so that my sound card doesn't pop and click on me, that sort of thing. And there are 3 of those. So how often will these be updated, you may ask? I'm not really sure. I don't update my install scripts very often, but if I do, I will most likely throw them up there. Now finally, the last 2 I have thrown in here just as examples to, this opens up a big can of worms, and that's Anacron. Anacron is, in Ubuntu and Linux, is a way to get the machine to do tasks at certain intervals of time. So you can do daily, you can do monthly, daily, monthly, or weekly with Anacron. That's the way it's usually set up. And you need a little script to do that, to call the application. So in this case, what this does is once a month, I have it set up to go out and run the apt-get auto-clean command, which dumps any packages that the system is archiving that can't be installed, which is something that can happen. So that's what that does. That's all this does. And the thing about writing for anything that runs in Anacron is that you must make absolutely sure that it creates no output, or it will automatically start dumping it into system emails in your spool. And most people who use Linux, even advanced users these days, do not fool around with in-system email that lands in your spool, so you don't want it to do that. So that's why everything, there can be no output, it must go to dev null. So this stuff runs entirely in the background. So I can show you where that goes. Let's look at ZClean is installed on this machine. So if I go to a directory, if I open up the terminal here, and And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cd into Etsy. Right here. Okay. And we'll ls. And what we're going to look for is cron monthly. Get it right. Okay, there's cron monthly. We're in that directory. We clear the screen. I'm using Control L to do that. For those who don't know the keyboard shortcut, you can also type in clear, which I actually alternate back and forth between those two things. Some terminals, Control L doesn't work, depending on what you're logged into, but for just the local terminal on your machine, it should be just fine. Anyway, I digress. So if we list what's in here, you'll see there's our zclean script, and what this does is it'll run it once a month pretty faithfully. And let's see here, let's go down one level. And then what I want to do is cd into cron. Let's look at the weekly, because there's usually more stuff in weekly than anything else. So if I would put this in weekly, it would do it weekly. So this is your update notifier that runs right there. All right. And this is updating the manual database there. And it used to be in here in Ubuntu that you would have your trim command for your solid state drives. But they have moved that now. If you don't see it, don't freak out on if you install 1910 or the upcoming 2004. They're now doing that with systemd. It's no big deal. It still works, still does what it's supposed to do. It runs the trim command once a week on solid state drives to keep the do the wear leveling and all that stuff. So that is still there. It's just they've moved it out of Anacron. I hope they never completely get rid of Anacron, because I happen to like Anacron an awful lot. For me, it's a very cool little application. It's a way to get the machine to do something. And finally, the last one, we'll go ahead and look at this, is an Anacron script called zdefrag. And what this does is it runs the defragmenter on your system if you happen to have an old spinning drive. So you could set this up to do it once a week in the background, and you'd never know. Now, with ext4, whether you defrag the drive or not, it really doesn't do much about the performance. So this is kind of overkill. Nobody really needs to defrag an ext4 drive unless they have like huge video files and it's 3/4 of the way full. Then it might make a difference. If it's a regular desktop drive, forget it. It doesn't make any difference. So I ordinarily don't run defrag, and these days, like on this machine, I've got an SSD, so I can't use this at all. So there you go, gang. That is the contents of what is in the bash script collection. And you can come up here to EzeeLinux.com and you can download that directly from GitHub, or you can go to the GitHub page and you can follow me there if that is something that you're into as well. I just wanted to kind of show you all what was in there. And do keep in mind, this stuff is as is. Some of it's a little shaky. Some of it's stuff I'm working on, but it works well enough that I figured I should go on and share it. It's kind of like the rest of the story. You've seen the official super applications here, the big scripts, in other words. Well, that's the rest. That's the rest. So that's about it. So let's see. Did I have my slides still up? Yes, I did. I already was prepared in advance, so I can close the video out with my ordinary slide, and I can say your feedback is always welcome. And thank you for watching very much. And check out EzeeLinux.com for more about Linux and links to everything that we've talked about here. You can also check out EzeeTalk, which is our forum. That is a local forum that we run on our own server. It's not part of some big corporate giant service that they might take away or steal your data from. No, that's something that is peculiar to EzeeLinux. And then finally, if you're a Facebook user, give us a like on Facebook. It helps. And give the video a thumbs up and subscribe. It certainly is appreciated. So until we meet again, thanks for watching.